Now, I just want to apologize for the poopy sound quality in the last 2-hour episode. Firstly, I just had to get through the 2-hour session, and secondly, sometimes the sound quality of this works, sometimes I don't. I just have to put faith that the sound quality really does work here. But anyway, when we last left off, Isabella just announced that her father had passed on. So now...
When?
Huh? When what?
Your dad. I mean, when did you find out?
She doesn't answer. Not immediately, anyway. For a long moment, the hush simply stretches out before us, spanning across the seconds we let pass while we both simply stand there, waiting. Eventually, she exhales. Lightly muted enough that I might have missed it, had I not been paying attention to her every movement.
Yesterday, around 3 in the afternoon there, Mom called. She told me he passed away in his sleep, and I guess I can take comfort in that, huh? That Papa wasn't in any pain when...
Yeah, when he went to the paradise. She trails off, releases another ragged breath hidden underneath her chuckles, each one's mirthless heavy with nothing but sorrow. Then she falters into silence. For all my attempts at lightening her burden, I'm suddenly at a loss. Reassurances could only do so much when her only reason for staying here has suddenly been taken from her. A hope yanked from under her feet right after it was generously given. And without that, without the one person who pushes her to endure, she's going through, means nothing but a struggle. What does one say to a person fraying at the edges, slowly wearing thin and breaking? Are words even enough? What right do I have anyway? I cannot give her anything, apart from lies that changed me as a person, and affection she may or may not even want for herself. Because no matter how easy she has warmed herself into our lives, how immutable her presence has become, her own heart will always yearn for something else. For home.
Tell me about him.
Huh? About what?
Your dad. Tell me about him. Anything. Just talk. Say anything you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll listen.
Silence again, as if she's testing the weight of my question. For what purpose it is, for a reason even I can't say right now. After a while, though, she starts, reluctantly, her voice hitching, faltering, and stumbling in each syllable as she chooses her words. A rough start, but soon it steadies, and along with it, to keep company, the stories from childhood and memories she's fond of, are the tears. Despite this, in spite of the grief choking her words off, the hurt closing her throat, and the sobs racking her lithe form, she continues, like the mere act of speaking is a relief in itself. A release. She tells me of her father, the very person who named her. How she looked up to him. She called him by name. How she was a bit of a tomboy growing up in her attempts to imitate him. And how the man encouraged her to pursue what she really wanted. Perhaps even the only thing she ever did for herself, having grown up not wanting anything more than food to put on their tables.
He told me I don't have to listen to them. That I can do what I want. Every day, he'd wake up at 4, Ash. Because he'd earn more that way. And every single time, he'd give them to me. Whatever extra he earned, he'd hand them all. So that I have something to use for my paintings.
She does art.
And you know what? Back home, just a good tube of paint costs almost as much as what we spend for food the whole day.
In the Philippines, yes, I've been looking at the Philippines lately. That much is true, actually. They live a really good, cultured, and really free life. They're a very faithful and very loving community. Family is a top priority for them. Even in the poor conditions they're living, they learn to count their blessings out in the Philippines. They say that they've got some of the best people ever there. Some of the best women ever there, but that's just from what I've heard.
But he'd always set something aside. Told me he wanted to see my paintings in a museum one day.
She pours all of it out. Every little thing she loved and admired about him. We will remember him for those. Like this, it's easy to see why she has gone to such great lengths for him. Why she abandoned her dreams. Why she went against her wishes, just to grant him another chance at life. Others will say it's her warmth that draws people to her, or her cheer. Neither are wrong, but neither is the whole truth of her either. Because those who have never bothered to look beyond the surface will never see it. See her. See someone earnest. Someone who has always meant well, despite her underlying stubbornness. This is how she loves. Warm, steadfast, unflinching. You never meet many people like her. Not in my line of work. Not with the kind of people I've had to deal with. Always with something to hide. Always with something to lie about. Eventually, when you run across too many of them, you change. You become like them. In many ways, for a lot of reasons. She's the kind of person I want to be and be around with, who made me feel I am still worth something.
He didn't want me to leave. Begged that I should finish my studies first. In the end, I couldn't even grant him that one request. I'm a terrible daughter, aren't I?
No, darling.
You're not.
You see? Listen to Ash!
Huh?
Panning up. I kind of like this camera angle. Kind of camera down to see, not reveal the eyes of empathy, but just focus on Isabella and her emotions. But then you pan up and see him thinking. I like that angle. Anyway. Don't blame yourself, Pate.
You're not. I can't speak for your dad. I haven't even met the man. But I know you're not.
And I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this. This remark just came out. Now I'm stringing all these together as I go. But one thing is certain. None of what I'm about to say is a lie. None of it.
The Isabella I know is a total klutz, but I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does. She's the type who wears her heart on her sleeve, though it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's always in the right place. She's intimidated by a lot of stuff, but she knows how to appreciate the smallest things in life. Frankly, you've caused us no small amount of trouble since you barged into our lives. But when I'm with you, all of my worries seem trivial.
It's amazing how one person can impact so many others. Everyone's significant. Heat has already crept up in my face when the turn of this whole thing is about to take registers. Before I blurt the rest of it out, declare feelings I'm not even ready to reveal to anyone, much less to her, my hands come up to smother the rest of it. Though embarrassment quickly takes the reins, if I can completely clamp my mouth shut. Ooh.
And I'm pretty sure Zach and Becca think the same way. You have a nasty way of growing on people like that, and you know what? We got everything we needed in here. I'll just wipe the security recordings and we're good to go. While I'm at it, you better wipe the snot off your face. And you don't look very nice when you're balding like that.
Gosh, I wasn't expecting that moment in this game, but there you go. Well done, game. Well done. I applaud you. Well done. In record time, all of it has been stacked in a neat pile, ready for storage. I'm heading for the record rooms. not a few seconds later. Wherever that is. It should be an easy find, unless this place is a maze of some sort, which I highly doubt. Still, beats staying here and seeing the look on her face. Really, her anger's still bearable, I can take that. Including this glower she sends my way.
So, yeah, I'll go get the security videos and put these back where you pulled them from. Man, these are heavy, you know?
Ash, it's just paper. You don't even know where I...
Oh, no, I can handle this. Easy as pie. And, yeah, security cams, tapes, videos, cams. Yeah, I'm off.
I think there's a future for those two. Don't you think, viewers? Comment down below if you think there's a future between these two people. Maybe not yet. Getting the files back to BRC's archive room is a cinch. With the documents back in their proper places, I locked the door behind me, tugging it twice just to make sure. Now on the next order of business, removing the evidence of our little excursion in here. Or at the very least, the parts showing what we've been doing during the past hour. Can't have our faces plastering on security footage, showing us breaking the law, as it were. I'm gonna have to wipe the data for Isabella's access card entries too. Gonna have to do that. Surprisingly, finding their security room proves a breeze. What will be tricky is getting inside. The fact that no one has walked out during this whole time we've been here means the room is either empty or their security sound asleep. I'm banking more on the former. If they're cutting corners and firing agents, I have no doubt that they're fired the guy stationed here. If they have anyone watching the monitors in the first place, it's a rather common thing for establishments. Just leave security recording indefinitely and check the whole footage if something actually happens. Just to check, I press my ears against the door, listening for a sign of anyone occupying the room. After a long minute and nothing, I give the knob a few rattles.
Standard lock and key. Should be easy enough to pick.
We have lockpick sets, but those are only to be used if necessary, and with a search warrant. Even then, it's a skill set rarely needed. Subtlety isn't on the cop's priority, if they have authority to search the premises. Bolt cutters and brute force are the favorite methods. If those fail, we call a locksmith. Me, I prefer the good old-fashioned hairpin trick, when those options aren't available. Besides, they're easy to hide and store for emergencies. Running my hand through the hair, I pull out a pair of bobby pins. 2 of these, and I can just about open any standard lock. One makes a lever, and the other makes a handle. I won't call it a complex skill, but it certainly takes time and a lot of practice to successfully pick a lock. Good thing I've practiced with them for a bit of my college years. I learned more when they're accessible instead of issue or a law enforcement officer. I wiggle here, I click there, and I manage to seize all the pins in the locking mechanism soon enough. Aha! With a slight turn of the knob, the security room's ripe for the picking. Hey look, it's Isabella. The room odor hits me first. A sharp, nauseating stench. As if someone had accidentally spilled a gallon of bleach in the room. I think that's another person outside there. Does that look like a ghost there? When was the last time they opened this place?
Ugh, this place smells awful. Jesus,
Blasphemy!
it's worse than the forensics lab on a bad day.
This is probably because of a badly botched effort to clean the place up. Even in the dark, I could spy dark stains on the walls. I really don't have the time to try and play is this ketchup or soda right now. But I have this strange gut feeling who the mess might belong to. As expected, no security personnel mans the office's CCTV controls, and the standalone DVR setup is open for anyone. Normally, I'd have a heap of things to say about this sloppy security setup, but right now, the negligence makes the whole task of erasing evidence easier.
No fuss, no muss.
That right. The next one should be the access card data. Hopefully, getting into the computer won't be too much of a hassle. Everything up to now has been a smooth sailing. There have been hiccups, I'll give it that, although it does nothing to dampen the good mood I'm in. Once I shift my attention to the machine, sitting next to the DVR setup, all of it swiftly evaporates. I am no computer buff, but I can definitely recognize one more than a decade old. Simply looking at it makes me feel younger. With a heavy sigh, I power it up and mentally prepare myself for a slow slug. Slow, apparently, remains an understatement here. It takes a whole 3 minutes for the thing to start up. The OS hasn't even started loading in my boredom. I start inspecting the live feeds from the cameras. Only 2 works. One for the view outside, everything seems to be in order there, and the other, one main workspace where it's a fleeting glimpse. A cursory glance, but the sight of it stops me. The image is a bit blurry, but standing there, right in the middle of the room by one of the cubicles, I can make out the form of a...
What the hell is...
Oh, it's the lady! I don't get too far into the line of thought. No few seconds after my words have slipped out, without any sort of warning, while I'm trying to make sense of what it is. The figure moves. Oh crud. Oh crud. A moment of paralysis hits me when she stops right in front of the camera. Like a rookie, I go still in the face of danger. I definitely haven't been trained to handle the supernatural. And this is one, isn't it? And... oh, crud. Her eyes bore into me. That's another mention of bore into me. You know, with all these mentions of eyes boring into people, you might as well make that the Star Wars equivalent of, I got a bad feeling about this. Is it just me, or do I see some long-haired dude with glasses with a nose and mustache? Am I the only one who sees that? Anyway, her eyes bore into me. The malice of them, piercing, even beyond the screen, is enough to make me numb. Only the mug crashing to the floor, when my hand accidentally takes a swipe at it, snaps me out of the trance, reminding me that I'm not the only one here. Isabella! It seems she hasn't noticed anything. Am I the only one seeing this? In any case, whatever is happening, I have to get her out. Gathering my wits, I quickly reach out my phone. It takes all but 2 seconds before she answers, but there's no time for relief.
Ashton? Did you really have to call? We're practically on the same pool.
Get out of there.
What? What are you...
Out! Get out! I'll meet you in the elevator. Just...
You're creeping me out, Ash.
Just get yourself out of that place, now!
Without a second thought, I back away from the controls, from the room, ready to be done with this place. But before my foot even moves, she disappears.
Son of a...
Oh! The ghost be like,
Language, boy, language. You should learn to control thy tongue. Which I'm probably going to bite out later in order to make a youth potion.
Hocus pocus reference. Instinct instantly takes over, and my hand quickly reaches for the gun at my side, only to meet empty air. A mistake that cost me a few precious seconds, while the paperwork I've brought into me threatens to scatter everywhere at the same time. Gathering everything on myself once more, with no weapon to protect myself, my sense of self-preservation kicks in next, and I lunge towards the door. I sprint across the office without daring to look back. Isabella's already waiting in front of the elevators by the time I make it out of their office. Worry creases her eyebrows upon glancing at me, but I don't have time to answer the questions in her eyes. As soon as I reach her, I grab her arm, practically throw the two of us into the open elevator, and slam the button of the ground floor. A sigh of relief escaped from me. When the elevator starts its descent, the clicking noise fades off into the distance. Beside me, Isabella shifts, moving the stack of papers under her arm while she takes in my appearance. Concerns in her eyes, although all I offer her is a small gesture of my hand while I attempt to compose myself. Be together. Breathe. Breathe. You're going to be fine. In and out.
Why are we in such a hurry?
We need to get out of this place. Did you get everything?
Yeah, it's all here. But really, you don't look too good. What's wrong, Ash?
Everything!
I'll be fine. I was in the security room. From the monitors, there was fucking...
Uh-oh. There's a moment's pause, while we both take in our surroundings. Confusion's understandably there.
Oh, come on! They should just replace this whole thing!
No, I'm quite sure I pressed for the ground floor.
Right? But it's just as Isabella said. The elevator always did have problems when I visited it in the past. Often she becomes so angry whenever we try to get to her floor. She'll have to repeatedly smash the button for the elevator to even move. That was probably good for a laugh. I wasn't too worried then. But now? Oh no. From the distance. Beyond the light's reach. Anyway, the noise echoes in my ears along with the rapid pounding in my chest. Isabella stiffens and her eyes go wide at the sound. Gingerly, she reaches up to grab the hem of my sleeve and grips it hard, tight enough for her fingernails to dig through. Her eye searches widely for the source of the sound, while I stand protectively in front of her.
Ash, did you hear that?
Anyone there?
Oh yes.
I can hear you moving from here. Show yourself.
No response. No response. Only the soft sound of something scurrying around the floor and the walls in slow, deliberate movements. Faint, though still audible enough in this hush. As well as the intense music in the background. Until it stops. A moment.
We need to go, Ash. We have to.
And then... just pause for effect. The sound of nothing is a beautiful sound, I must say. Okay, right. This time I'm certain this isn't my imagination. Only the fool would deny the scenario by this point. Against my training, my whole body freezes. Hands stilling mid-press of the button, eyes growing wide, while waiting for any sort of movement from further back, ears strained for the source of the sound. I can't even offer Isabella any reassurances. Much as I hate to admit it, dread has seeped into every nerve of my body. And the blasted elevator still won't work!
This isn't in my fucking training manual!
Yeah, we weren't trained to handle ghosts.
Ash, we need to leave. I know that sound. Ash, please, get the elevator!
Another series of shuffling against the ground, a laughter, and all of a sudden, she's just there. Like a twisted spider, she stares at us, a look of hunger in her eyes and venom in the twisted manner she smiles. A glee she has well earned when word darn flies has been dropped right onto the spider's web.
Ashton!
There's gonna be a QTE. What options do we have? Let's put it on easy, shall we? I was just checking. I managed to see some footage in advance, so that helped me.
Damn it!
Without warning, she moves, mocking with each unhurried crawl she takes, knowing I'm at her mercy.
Fucking hell!
Ashton, the door! The door!
Our lives are in the hands of a crummy elevator, literally hanging between life and death. We're not going to die here. Not in an elevator of all things. Please help. Okay, 1, 8, 4, 9, 2. Okay, 5, 3, 4, 7, 9. 5, a 4, a 1, a 7, an 8. And an 8, a 1, a 4, a 7, and a 3. Bollocks! Yeah, she's gonna get me. Hi. Yeah, this is why I put it on. Not in a darn elevator. Okay, let's do this. 7, a 5, a 9, a 2, and a 6. 5, an 8, a 7, a 2, and a 1. And a 6, 9, 1, 4, 7, 7, 4, 6, 8, 9. Booyah, baby! Ha! Boom, baby! I did it! As if a divine power had heard me swearing up a storm in my head. Happy God. The doors close just as that thing looms near. Woo! Soon the elevator, the blasted thing, is headed up. Whew! Isabella's knees buckle in relief. In 2 ticks, she's hugging herself, without any care for the mess of papers and folders she has dropped on the floor in her panic. Hopefully you didn't drop any papers on the floor, otherwise the ghost is gonna be like,
Oh, they were solving a mystery together. Yes.
Okay. Right. Thank God that's over with. She draws in one ragged breath after another, each one brimming with nothing but relief. And this? This is the most I've been tired my whole life. Not during training, when my superior first asked me to drop 100 push-ups. Not even after a stakeout, but after smashing a flipping elevator button repeatedly. I slump to the ground beside her, worn out, but I don't let myself feel relief again. Not until we're out of here. Isabella seems to be at the same kind of mind as she looks at me. Still, I find myself sharing a shaky laugh with her.
We're okay. We're fine. Right?
Yeah, we're good. Alive.
Hallelujah.
Fuck, we should have taken the goddamn stairs.
Blasphemy. What have we learned, kids? Take the stairs. Twice. I've seen it. Thrice, if I include the party. Unless I'm tripping balls without realizing it, there's no doubt in my mind that this is actually happening. Yep, he believes it now. Now he is a believer. Not a trace. Down in his mind. I don't want to believe it. Yeah, a lot of people suppress the truth, you'll find. But with the truth staring at me right in the face, it'll be stupidity to deny the reality of the matter. As soon as the lift hits the ground floor, we hightail out of the building. Seb's sound asleep when we pass by his station. However, in the face of what we've seen, everything I face tonight, we really don't care less of who will see us on our way out. The sooner we get away from this place, the further the better. I'm just not sure if that also means being safe. She's almost got us! The flipping thing almost had us! Oh my goodness. It was only by luck that we managed to get the fricking elevator unstuck, and the blasted thing just worked at the last second. I need some air. Fresh, breathable air that doesn't stink like death and gore all at once. I'm panicking. Blasphemy. Losing focus. With another person here, I can't afford that right now. Isabella hasn't anything to say, but I know she's more shaken than I am. I can't lose it when another person's depending on me.
Remember your training, Frey.
Another deep breath, and soon I'm starting the engines and driving us off. After that little incident, Somewhere open would be good. Someplace I won't get trapped. Luxburn Park brings a welcome relief, though only by some. The chill has been seeped into my bones is still there, furling and unfurling underneath my skin. If I don't move, if I don't busy myself with anything, soon my brain will go haywire. It's the last thing I want to happen when there are plenty of things to do. But this already answers all of it, doesn't it? Those deaths. Just how many copies of the letter are out there? Isabella can't offer the only one if other people are also getting cursed. Could it be that the one she has shown us is just one of 5? Maybe even more? That whole pass this to 5 people business is ridiculous, but at this point, is it still? All in all, we found 21 people who might have read the letter. 7 of them deceased. 8 if we count Cooper. And that's only with what we can find right now. We have no idea how the contractors and specialists hired from outside the company are doing, if we are in any way affected. How many more people are suffering? How many are missing? How many are dead? Can I still even blame the Wrights for this? If anything, they might be in danger as well. I don't think I can wish a curse upon anyone, no matter how big of a douchebag Luke Wright is. There's also that woman. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? How do we get away from her? Oh man. Still, so many things we need to look into. Yet all my body wants to do is pace, burn out whatever excess energy there is in me.
Ashton, I'm getting dizzy. Will you sit down?
It's the first time Isabella said anything. She's been sitting quietly since we dropped here. Better and less distracting than watching her nervous habits, I suppose. She certainly seems calm now. Too calm, in fact, for someone who has just been something terrible. But it's been more than a week for her already. People do get desensitized to things at some point. Even someone like Isabella. Who knows what's going on inside her head, though? Inside mine? There are too many, and none of them would sit still.
I'm not going crazy, am I? I saw that. I'm pretty sure I saw that. I didn't inhale anything weird. Shit. Isabella, please tell me that wasn't...
What I'm not expecting when I turn to her is mirth. One she could barely contain.
You're laughing. You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because I've heard that joke before, and it wasn't funny the first time. I'm getting some Killing Joke vibes. I'm not quite sure what she sees in my face, but in the next second, a laugh suddenly bursts out from her.
I'm so sorry. It's just that you should have seen the look on your face back there.
Yes, right. Sure. I'm not the one who's panicked. You almost ripped my arm off.
Yeah, but...
Isabella, this isn't funny! We could have ended up dead!
You skipped that woman almost got us.
I know, I'm really sorry. But this is just too precious to miss. You really lost your shit for a moment there.
You're trying to get back at me, aren't you?
Well, I'm not the one who kept calling someone scaredy cat for years. How does it feel?
I'm not scared.
Really? Because it doesn't seem that way to me. At all.
I'm not, alright? I'm just... I just don't know what to do right now.
Immediately after, the moment passes, replaced by another tense silence. Laughter dies on her lips as everything sinks in. We're in deep poo, and it has finally caught up and hit us like a ton of bricks. Hit me more than anyone. Because she has been warning us about this since day one, and I'm the first person who brushed it off. Despite that, she will reach out to me, tugging at my sleeve almost desperately. Her hands are trembling, and there's a tremor in her voice when she speaks. Without the cheer, only fear remains. One that she has been burdened from the beginning.
We're still going to do something about it, right? Not just stand around and let that thing get us.
Unexpectedly, she leans her forehead against my arm, and her grip on my sleeve tightens. There's desperation in there. A quiet plea.
I don't want to lose anyone anymore.
I wish I could give her that promise. But with so many unknowns, so many things I don't understand about this, how could I? Why she still trusts that I can do something about this baffles me. It all feels wholly undeserved, considering the way I've treated her. Yet despite my reluctance, I find myself returning her hold in kind. A grasp, warm and light enough for comfort. Not a promise, but the closest thing to it. October 30th, Sunday. Uh-oh, he's dreaming. Darkness blurs the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footballs echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of laughter. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps onto every nerve of my body, washing away every sensation in me apart from one. There is only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Morning breaks in a blurry mess of vivid shapes and colors. Oddly, there's no feeling of terror or confusion gripping me, despite the vague images that was driven me from sleep. There's that Studio Ghibli piano music I've come to love. Awareness kicks in shortly, though slow and sluggish, as I blink away the last remnants of unconsciousness from my eyes. The early morning light already streams from the open windows. When the memory sets in, the room finally comes into focus. Yeah, that happens when you're waking up, yeah. Isabella's apartment. Pushing myself upright, my eyes wander idly towards her prone form. She's hunched over the coffee table, both her arms under her head, while she continues to rest. Then to the chaos of papers and folders we left scattered over it, before sleep has claimed both of us. We've bunkered down here last night. After both our nerves have calmed down, mine for the most part, staying together was an unspoken invitation. And anyway, I'm pretty sure neither of us wants to remain alone when there's that woman. Is she still one in the first place? One that we'd normally call a human? Can it still feel guilt? Does it understand pain?
Fuck, I'd rather get charged for breaking and entering than mess with whatever that thing was any day.
Not that thinking about it still matters when all our lives are in our hands. She's dangerous. If we don't do anything about her, and this curse will definitely be pushing up daisies soon. Join the choir invisible. Ceased to be, ceased to desist. Meet our maker. We shall be X people. I've dallied on this long enough. Left all my friends in harm's way after the warnings they've all given me. Besides, beneath the terror and the adrenaline that keeps me running, knowing what lies ahead for Isabella makes it hard not to take action. The paper sitting on the edge of the table calls my attention. At this, light against my hand when I reach for it. It was caught my eye the night before. But with the lot we still need to go through, I've simply ignored it. The logo, emblazoned on the top of the page, however, provides this paper a whole new meaning. Not for me, but definitely for her.
A scholarship grant, huh?
Ooh, sweet. I've only ever heard her talk about this once or twice, completing her degree, that is. Yeah, I completed my art degree, just so you know. She rarely goes about it in great detail, preferring to keep it to herself. Perhaps it's the fact that she thinks she's already too old to be chasing after it. It has been 5 years after all. Despite how things have panned out between her and her father, she's one step closer to this part of her life. As silly as this may sound, coming from a friend, I'd like to give her the chance to have this. Whether this means stepping out of my comfort zone and figuring what the deal with this curse is, I'll do it. It's only to see the same smile on her from that time again. These days, the only moments she seems to show, it is that when she's asleep, like right now, no matter how uncomfortable she appears. A smile of my own forms despite this. When I glance at her sleeping form again, she hasn't moved since, shoulders rising and falling in a slow, even rhythm with her breathing. You won't think she has any problems this way.
If only that were true.
Sighing, I place the paper back when I've gotten it, carefully so I won't accidentally wrinkle or damage it in some way. Finally push myself off my makeshift bed. Isabella shifts when I carry her off from the floor and over to the bed, but doesn't wake. Simply tucks herself comfortably under the covers I pull over her. Aw, that's sweet. Briefly, though, she mumbles something to herself and draws in another deep breath.
Becca, Ashton's being dumb again.
She drifts back into a deeper state of sleep after, like it hasn't been interrupted by the slightest movement earlier. But the small smile on her lips remained. One I find myself returning in kind.
Who sleeps like a rock now?
It's better this way. Better to leave her to her dreams for the moment, which I hope are better than the ones I've had. She'll have time to worry about her problems later when she wakes up. For now, this'll be another thing I don't want to take away from her. A moment of respite, no matter how fleeting. She deserves it. After everything she has put both of us through, what I've put her through. In the meantime, I still have 2 other people I need to check with. Isabella will definitely get in a tizzy if I don't check on them. And here we are again. Cold Luxembourg air meets me upon stepping out the hallway. Not unusual in itself. This is what Luxembourg's weather is supposed to be. A bit cold, damp for the most part, and more often than not terribly drab with an occasional sprinkling of rain every few hours. The sky's still clear, but I'll give it a day or two before the weather takes a turn for the worse. I've complained about the awful rains for years, despite having lived here my entire life. I've had to admit, though seeing it return to the usual feels extremely reassuring, at least something's still normal in the world, when I can no longer think the same for the situation we're in. What is normal? A nightmare. That's probably all this is. Usually I'll say I've been through worse, but that's simply another lie I've told myself, isn't it? And I've fed myself a great deal of lies through the years, so I won't have to think about it the next day. Maybe we won't even have this problem if I haven't been running away and ignoring things, hiding them someplace no one will see, because I've since believed doing so is a show of weakness.
The fuck do I know about ghosts, though?
Well, you know a bit more now. What does Rebecca, Z-Man, has mentioned dreaming about a woman? Whether it's the same one we've been seeing, I've yet to ask. Bottom line, he likely knows as much about this as I do. Heck, even Rebecca's probably in the same boat, grasping for anything that might provide an answer, a way out of this. What can any of us do when all of us lacks any understanding of what's happening? One thing's clear about this, however. That thing is after us, because of the letter. Both Rebecca and Zach have seen it too. She will go after them as well. Yet here I am, walking up Becca's door, one slow step at a time, a stalling tactic to allow myself some time to put the mess in my head in a better order. How to phrase this? When there's a 90% chance he's still pissed about the whole different matter, it's the only reason we didn't check on her last night, aside from that ungodly hour Isabella and I arrived. We'll only alarm her by showing her in their home in the middle of the night, acting like babbling lunatics, and her anger can last quite a while. These days, it seems the only one she can easily forgive is Isabella. But even with her, Becca's fuming still takes hours. I run my hand through my hair and straighten out my jacket before knocking. Once, twice, 3 times, just to be sure she has heard me, even if she is asleep. She's usually awake by now, though.
Hey, Becca, it's Ash. Open up. Don't tell me you're still in bed.
Seconds tick by, no answer from her, and dread has started to creep up. I've been trained to handle dire situations, but the feeling has been doing that quite frequently since last night. My mind begins to anticipate the worst, and in the next minute, concern has mixed in with my thoughts, and I bang my fist on the door, louder this time. She'll definitely be livid, but I'd rather face her wrath than a dead body.
Becca, it's Ash. There's something we need to talk about right away. Open up, I know you're...
Your girlfriend left early this morning, pretty boy. So if you could do us a bloody favor and shut up, that'd be real fucking polite!
What's your frickin' language?
My hand pauses for a short of landing after another heavy knock. From the other unit, Rebecca's other neighbor peeks in through his door, though I see nothing but a bundle of blankets. I'll say they need help from being devoured by their sheets, but it sounds like he's just fine. He's a big jerk. Course of action. Right. That's done me wonders. Right.
Oh, did she say where she was going?
I don't know. She said something about meeting someone or something, in case Filipina girl over there asks.
Huh?
Well, what am I, her keeper? You know, some people want to sleep in on a bloody Sunday, so keep it down. Just looking forward to this weekend. Thanks, you damn git!
Well, there's no need to be an ass about it. I'll get out of here.
Way.
Jerk.
Ought to be going to church by now. Anyway, so Rebecca's not here. I must have missed her by an hour or so, but at least she's not alone. She should be safe, in theory. More so if the person she's meeting with is who I am thinking of. Nevertheless, I still can't help but worry. It's an easy thing continuing down increasingly darker lines of thought. To act brashly, to find out where she is and go straight there without deliberating on my actions first. There's Zach to boot. Rebecca's not alone, but I can say the same for the big guy. A simple phone call to the both of them should do the trick. It'll ease my nerves at any rate. It's better than rushing over to Zach's place or assuming Rebecca's whereabouts. Assuming the worst will come next, which I'd rather avoid this early. This is one, right? Even if this isn't anxiety from concern dulls judgment, something I most certainly can't afford to lose at any given time, especially right now. Any means to calm it will do wonders for the muddy mess that my mind is in already. Oops. Pulling up my phone, I thumb through the screen until it ends in a group with only Zach's, Rebecca's, and Isabella's numbers listed. Other people will probably say I keep too few friends when they chance on this. To some extent, it's true. I can easily name about 100 people I've been acquainted with through the years. Colleagues, blockmates, from uni, neighbors, those sorts of people. They all come and go. But these three have chosen to stay for some reason without wanting or asking for anything in return. Unlike the others, none has Zach's kindness or Rebecca's patience, nor the sincerity in Isabella's eyes. One day, these guys are just there. The next thing I know, being with them eases it. That heavy, somber feeling lingering in the air when you stand alone in your apartment, or something as simple as spending your day off without anyone. I'll say it's loneliness, but this carries much more depth than that. If I can help it, I don't want to lose any of them to that some stupid curse. A phone call may be the least comforting thing at the moment. Honestly, I prefer being in the same room with them right now, but I'll take what I can get. Becca first. She'll get angry at me for worrying about her. She isn't some helpless damsel in distress after all. She isn't the shy little girl I knew when we were children. I don't have to imagine her taking anything head on. I don't care if she gets mad at me, if only to know that she's fine. All right.
Rebecca Gales here. You've reached my voicemail. Sorry if I can't get to you. Oh, and if this is Isabella, yes, you're free to...
Probably just busy. And, well, at least we can eat the food.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
Right. Let's just get on with it. Aw, flashback. Ah. You got a fancy-looking suit there. She's been my friend for the longest time. Anybody else would have been fed up with me and left. girl stuck by me, no matter how big of a jerk I've been. There's Zach and Isabella now too, of course. I'll always be thankful for having them around. The worst times before, however, Becca was there. No one believes it when I say it, but I've surely had my awful moments as a bratty kid and as a horrible teenager. Issues? I've too many of them to count and refuse to deal with for a short time. At least that's what Andrew likes to tell me. I tend to think nothing of it. It has mellowed down over the years, thanks to the professor mostly. But at times, I do wonder if it still burdens me the way it did all those years ago. After all, I was terrible, especially around the time of my parents' separation. Looking back at it now, I have no reason to direct all my frustration toward anyone else. When I was a kid who lashed out at anyone, preferring to keep to myself and turning those negative feelings into more productive things. I've grown distant from a lot of people because of it. From my old friends back in my old school and neighbors I've hung out with before moving, a habit I've likely brought into me into adulthood. I was just so angry with everyone and everything. All I just kept thinking about was myself, wondering, why me? In retrospect, I was a selfish little bastard who thought the world revolved around me. Though I shouldn't have been going through it, I believed my behavior was entitled, that I had the right. Tough times, but she stuck with me, snapped me out of my little sulk, as she often phrases it whenever she sees the chances to bring it up. She didn't tolerate my poopery, but she didn't leave me alone either. If anything, the whole thing made her stick around. Her concern may have grown a bit overbearing as the years went by, but she's still an old friend, nevertheless. I owe her a lot. That won't change.
Damn it. Where are you, Becca?
Another message left on their voicemail. Then on my third call, I hang up. For the time being, I can't do anything more than to wait for her to return my calls. Worrying aimlessly won't get me anywhere. Zach, on the other hand, that guy attracts trouble no matter how he tries to avoid it. Doesn't help how he hasn't been too hot lately with a lot of people. His mention of plans yesterday doesn't sit too well with me either. He might be the next responsible adult after Rebecca, out of the four of us, but I've still got to check out the big guy. Make sure the Z-Man's okay. Alright.
Hey, Zach. Well, a voicemail anyway. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, just leave a message, yeah? And no, Ash, you're not allowed to lockpick your way into my apartment again.
Darn it. Okay, 2 friends missing. At least we know one of them's in the apartment. Right.
Why isn't anyone answering?
Maybe because they are being occupied with the ghost?
Yo, Zach, call me back, alright? I wanted to check in and, yeah, just please call me back.
It's usually a joke between us. When I say he's the Watson to my Sherlock. Okay, so, Ashton is Sherlock, Zach is Watson, Rebecca is Irene Adler, Luke Wright is Moriarty? I don't see him as some assistant to put aside until he's needed, like some people like to believe, though. He's not some pity friend I keep around to make myself look good.
If anything, he's the one who stayed by me out of pity.
Zach's the one who's put up with me most of the time, even when he doesn't need to. It's not a case of a cool cop, he helped out a minority. In truth, I was a hard-headed, hot-tempered, reckless rookie, up until I met him. It wasn't anything sudden, some part of me is still a rookie, but I've grown. Thanks to him, he tempers that part of me. Considering how our first impressions went, I'm lucky he stuck around. Becca and I may have spent a lot of years together as children, but Zach, he's probably the closest thing I'd call to my best friend, though. It's more than that, a camaraderie no words can express. He has my back, and I always have his. He's a brother I've never had the luck of ever having. Only child and all.
And I have every reason to worry about my brother.
Aww. Thank God for that. Alright.
Waiting game it is, then.
Alright.
Where?
Sorry.
Signal shitty here.
Oh, here we go.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
I meant that to sound as friendly as possible.
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you. I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
Do I really need to answer that?
Why are you even...
Please don't tell me that's his plan. A morning visit to the mansion where Luke Wright is? After all the pig-headed thing to do right now is the best thing you can come up with? Breaking and entering? I've got plenty of reasons to rail against him right now. Although no matter how much I want to give him a piece of my mind, unfortunately it's not the time.
No, wait. Just get your ass to Isabella's place and hurry.
He pauses a moment, a second of indecision.
How urgent is this?
In truth, the question, the hesitance and indecision in his voice has caught me completely off guard, and understanding dawns on me. His decision to go there isn't born of a stupid impulse. He must have found something. However, no matter how urgent it is, he still shouldn't have gone there, alone at that. Despite myself, in that split second of comprehension, I allow it to show a weakness, a simple request bringing with every uneasy disquiet causing turmoil within me last night. Ashton, only you would regard love as a weakness. That's the best line from the Gargoyles. It bears a selfish hope that you'll understand, even though the unstable signal that whatever is keeping him there, you'll be willing to set it aside for now.
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
Silence fills the other end of the line again. For a long moment I assume he won't heed it, and I'll take a drive there myself just to drag him away from whatever danger he's skirting. Thankfully he agrees.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
Whew! Alright. Normally, I don't let myself a moment of respite in good times like this. Gotta stay alert. Rebecca's still out there. Has yet to return any of my messages. But for the moment, I relish in it. This is probably the first time I've permitted myself to do since last night. Even the muscles of my shoulders have been complaining from all the tension I've taken on. It still annoys me that I still can't. All I can do right now is grit my teeth and trudge back to Isabella's apartment. Useless. That's what I am in the face of this. A mad dash around Luxburn and Anselm isn't going to help things. The city's too big a place for one person to go searching for two people. Oh! Right.
You're up early.
This is not the first time I've seen Isabella like this. Standing casually by her kitchenette, a ladle in hand, keeping an eye on whatever's stewing in the stove, while humming a soft tune under her breath. 5 years ago, it was become a common sight after the three of them, including Zach and Rebecca, found a mutual interest in cooking. After that, whenever her schedule allows it, one of them will invite everyone for dinner, or lunch instead of eating out. Rebecca prefers it that way, healthier, she claims. Zach's just too happy to be able to cook for everyone. Isabella, on the other hand, as long as there's food, she's happy. Sorry, I need to get through this.
Well,
You're just cooking. How am I distracting?
I don't know. Something might explode again, maybe. Zach's kitchen ban for you is also in effect here, you know. Now shoo, go. Stop hovering. You'll ruin the food. I'll be done here soon.
She leaves no room of error and argument. Closing my eyes, I allow the noise from the television to guide my thoughts. The ones I've been keeping at bay. Freeing them from the cage I've built myself around, so I won't have to think. One by one, they trickle back to my consciousness, each more frightening and unnerving than the rest. So many things going on. So many things happening. The papers we've gotten from BRC doesn't provide any comfort either. Seriously, is there even a point to those who, after last night? What will asking those people do? If anything, this is only proof that it might be more copies of that dumb piece of paper. We have one here. And how many exactly is there out there? More importantly, how do we get out of this stupid mess?
Ashton.
Darn it! I haven't felt this kind of bone-weary exhaustion in
I
years.
don't want to think what might happen next in case I miss something.
Rebecca, Zach, Isabella.
So depending on me and...
Ash!
The voice snaps me out of my thoughts, abruptly wiping away everything running a racket inside my mind. Suddenly Isabella's there, crouched in front of me when I crack an eye open. I haven't even noticed the exact moment when I've bent over and buried my head in my hands. Figures why she's staring at me like I've fainted or something. The crease in her eyebrows grows deeper at my lack of response. Although she's merely staring at me, without saying a word, her expression says everything. So much for trying not to alarm her with bad news.
Sorry, I just spaced out for a moment. Don't mind me.
For a brief moment, she seems to accept that. Quietly, she sifts and stands up and takes the empty space right beside me. All done without a single comment. Oh, what's this? Faint, sweet smell of cocoa wafts through the dish. Calming, comforting, despite the multitude of things bothering me. Certainly smells like the kind of food you'll eat on a rainy day. Though, from the get-go, it doesn't look as appetizing. What is this, even? Porridge? Why would you put chocolate in that? Milk drizzled on top? She tells me my tastes are weird, yet here she is, handling me something equally as strange. In fact, she's already started digging in hers. I'm just not sure if the taste will be equally as appealing. Baffled, I glance her way. She offers no immediate answer, simply continues eating as if she hadn't done so in a week. She's not watching however, just listening to the television. Alright. With a sigh, she cradles the dish of her lap and looks down at it. Briefly, her lips part, then closes. A hesitation, though I don't push her. There's a distant air on her, as if she has remembered something that warrants a poignant thought. When she speaks at last, it's in a tone too careful, like she's still weighing her words, considering the proper phrasing for it. Yet, sincerity underlies each syllable once they're out in the open.
You should eat. Back at home, Mama would never let us leave the house if we hadn't eaten breakfast yet. Even Papa has gotten an earful when he tried. So eat. You'll need it.
She returns to her food afterwards, while I can only stare at the one she has proffered not a few minutes ago. Warm against my hands, tempting me to take a bite. Not that I don't appreciate this, but what good will this do? Zach and Rebecca's both out there. Who knows what that ghost will show up again? Even in our dreams we're not safe. But that's it, isn't it? We don't know when, and at present we have a chance at respite. Maybe the only we'll have. Even if it's as mundane as sharing food between us. Quietly just sitting side by side like this, without exchanging any words. The intent hangs unspoken in the air. Right. Take her offer, of course.
Thank you.
The words roll off my tongue, awkward and unfamiliar, far removed from those jests and quips we've shared. Yet she accepts this with a smile and nothing more, regardless of everything left unsaid. The sight of it brings comfort, more so than any generous offer of food could give. Remember, when someone gives you a gift, don't be thankful for the gift. Thank the person who gave it to you. Though we both lapse into silence together after we finish our food, there's ease in it, and this and the muffled sounds of Luxburn filtering into the room, and the light streaming from our windows and the faint drafts occasionally drifting in, catching the loose tendrils of her hair, and the way her voice falters when she tries to form words. And despite the horror looming over us, I find myself wishing for the minutes to slow, for seconds to last, for eternity. But ultimately, she's the one who breaks it, softly after a minute's pause, in words mumbled under her breath. Sometimes silence simply compels us to speak.
I've been wondering, before last night, before Mama told me the news, what if Papa passes away, despite everything? That sort of thing. I know it's not good to think about, but I also knew it was getting worse. Mama won't say anything, but I've always known that one day, I'll eventually...
We all eventually pass on, one day. no tears.
I don't know what I'm going to do. Before, I can easily say it's because of Papa. Now, I don't have anything.
You have your friends and family.
You have that scholarship from Lux U?
That too. Count your blessings.
Were you going through my personal papers while I was sleeping last night?
I don't really have to. You left it sitting in the open, right there on the table.
Like there's still anything to hide. She snatches it away from where I've placed it back earlier. Except there's no anger or annoyance in her face when she looks at it, and she rereads every line with a pensive expression. After a short while, she folds it neatly along the creases and sets it back.
I don't even know if this will work out.
Well, if it doesn't, what about that exhibit you've been planning with Zach?
Do I even have to ask where you got that?
Zach sucks at lying. You have no idea how easy he is to read. It was all in his face when I asked about it. And anyway, if that doesn't pan out too...
I trail off, hesitating, measuring the weight of my next words. Genuine as they are, a part of me believes they're a burden too, heavy to impose upon her. Because no matter how much I want her to stay, we are not what ties her here. It'll be selfish to ask her that of her. More than anything, her family will always come first. Always. I say it nevertheless, if only to let her know that no matter what her choice will be, there will be people here whose lives her mere presence has exchanged. Looking cool with the gun there, Ashton. Here's a bit, big, yes. Just checking on relationships. Mine, most of all.
You have us.
The words startle her to pause, and slowly she turns to me, her eyes wide, disbelief all over her face. But before regret forces an apology upon my throat, her expression dissolves to something I can't quite place. Something distinctly softer and more tender, familiar, almost in the same manner she glanced at me years ago, that day at the bridge. However, I don't get the chance to figure out what it all means for her. All of a sudden, a knock breaks the moment. Just as fast, both our attention shifts towards the source. Before things can get awkward fast, I stand to open the door while muttering some firmly excusing the process.
I'll get that. It's probably Zach or Rebecca.
Really, I know we're in a pinch, but their timing can't get any worse. Unrelated frustrations aside, when I fling the door open, a whole chunk of stone that has been stuck at the pit of my stomach simultaneously unseats itself. There he is! He's still panting when he pushes me aside and heads in. Alright, back in the room. Alright, what do you got to say,
You
Zach?
said it was urgent. Did anything happen? Is it Becca? Bella?
Everyone's fine. Well, Becca's not here. She went somewhere this morning and hasn't answered any of my calls yet. But Isabella's...
I'm here, Zach. Morning.
His weight shifts at the same time. The stiff line on his shoulder eases once Isabella walks up to us and welcomes him with a smile. He relaxes then, returns her greeting in kind. As soon as he has let out the breath he has been holding and the tension's finally out of his body.
So, nothing's wrong? Why'd you call me here for then?
Because I wanted to know if you were safe, buddy. My explanation can wait. He has a lot of explaining to do. The fact that he went to Anselm alone for some blasphemy reason warrants a proper one. Ghosts or not, he already has given a warning. It frustrates me to no end. This might be the plan he mentioned the last time we spoke. I get that he's worried about Hannah Wright. Somehow they've become friends, but that's not the issue here. Not when there's a murderous ghost who might go after us one after another at any given time. Sure, Zach made it here in one piece by some dumb luck. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. Frankly, as annoyed as I am, I can't just stay angry at him when I look at the situation that way. If that call didn't connect at the same minute, there might have been a chance he won't be standing here. This is a blessing in itself. Alright. So, first things first, some things still need to be discussed. You promised you won't do anything stupid. You're okay. Oh. Now, where is this gonna go? You promised you won't do anything stupid. You're okay. I think this is better. Except when I open my mouth, the only thing that spills from it is my own relief. Despite myself, despite the rational part of my brain screaming everything wrong about Zach's neat little plan, we've had so many close calls just within a single night. Zach showing up on Isabella's doorstep, alive, whole and unharmed. I might as well take comfort in that while I still can.
You're okay.
That'll make Zach realize the urgency of the situation, as well as increase our relationship status.
You did tell me not to do anything stupid.
And he acknowledges that. See? It's all good. Though suddenly the whole room feels too heavy, and all I'm able to do is drop down on the couch. The headaches also threatens to burst at the same moment. Or perhaps this is what release from anxiety feels like. Regardless, I reach up to pinch the bridge of my nose, even if it'll likely do nothing to alleviate the impending pain.
Christ, you were right there! We have this stupid curse thing going on, and you were right there! You just walked up inside a private property! Those people can easily sue you for breaking and entering, and that's the least of it.
I know, Ash. But I can't just leave things as they are. I've got to do something.
We've got to do something.
God damn it, Zach, I was worried!
Unexpected genuine laughs are a reoccurring thing here.
Zach!
Aw, he's worried. Why didn't you say so? That cool act ain't gonna fool me anymore.
Let go!
He relents soon enough, though only after he's done ample damage to my hair. I hate it when he does that. But for a few moments there, the tense mood finally lightened up, and everything felt like how it used to be before this whole mess began. Makes appreciating little moments like these a little easier. Still.
Seriously, Zach, why are you even there?
Told you already. I was looking for you.
What?
Why would I even go there?
Well, you mentioned a plan with Isabella here. I assume that's where you guys went, since that's where she found the letter. Sorry, I was really in a dead end.
The logic in it stuns me into silence, to say the least. And I remember his hesitance, the tone he has taken before agreeing to go here, and all at once my anger from what he's done wanes. Partly this is my fault for keeping things vague. I can't berate him for assuming that, when I've only left him with vague answers.
You could have called me.
I did.
I didn't receive any, and my phone was with me.
You're kidding, right? I was at it the whole night.
The whole atmosphere of the room changes in 2 heartbeats. Back again, the whole tension-riddled one plaguing us. Zachary stares at me like I've grown another head. Again! I can't even believe the things coming out of my mouth these past few hours. The things that he's seen.
Please tell me he's joking. You were there?
No, we really didn't get any. Everything was quiet last night. But Zach, at BRC, Ashton and I saw...
Her. She never gets to finish that.
Sup, I'm Ash from DLC.
Oh, come on. Becca.
I'll tell him to get here as soon as she can. Excuse me.
Boom, Asian guy. Oh, that's ringtone.
Are you there?
Ragged, a bit out of breath. There's a tinge of urgency in it. Listening to her from my side of the line makes it seem like she has just run a marathon prior to this call.
Becca, where?
I got your message. What happened?
Nothing. Yet? Where are you?
Downtown. I had to make a quick visit to the library.
Ah, the library. Yes, he got spooked by the library.
Listen, Ash, about that thing Isabella has been talking about. There's something you guys need to...
Please tell me you didn't... Whatever. Save it for later. I'm at Salem Well. If you can get here as soon as possible, that'd be really great. This is related to that.
You're there? Is Isabella with you?
Yeah, Zach too.
With a quick press of the button, I switch to the loudspeakers and step back into Isabella's apartment. I hold out the phone towards the two, giving it 2 shakes, urging them to speak. Both are still carrying worried looks on their faces. This should ease that.
Rebecca's asking for you two.
Becca? Is she okay? Hey, Becca!
Hello, Becca.
Hello, Rebecca. Odd morning we're having, eh?
I'll say.
Hey, you two. What's happening over there? Is this something I should be worried about?
We'll tell you once you get here. Please, hurry.
I don't like the sound of that, Ash. But I'm on my way. Give me a few minutes. I'm driving.
She mumbles a goodbye, then hangs up. Becca's the last person I need to account for. Yet the call left an even more strained tension in the room. Thankfully, we don't have to linger in it for too long. She only takes a matter of minutes to get here, and the second she steps into the room, Isabella clings to her.
I'm so glad you're okay. Ashton checked on you this morning, but...
We're all in this together. Once we know who we are, we're all stuck,
He did?
and we see that.
I'm sorry, I was in a hurry. I didn't have time to drop by and let you know.
It doesn't matter. What's important is you're here.
Not burnt to a crisp or brutally murdered somewhere. Whole, alive. I'm thankful I changed the ending for Zach there. Neil will be really happy. At least now I can relax, ease the brush from my shoulders by a bit. But in a minute, Isabella pulls her away. She winces. A small reaction. The younger woman doesn't even catch it. It sets a precedence for a careful observation, nevertheless. A closer look at her reveals a much more disheveled than usual. Hair in a bit of a mess, probably flattened in a hurry. The back of her dress also shows stains of dirt in places it rarely gets into. She's also leaning more on using her left arm. She's right-handed. Perhaps the most telling is a slight limp she has, noticeable once Isabella leads her into the room. It all sprouts a hatful of questions. I grab her arm before she can walk past, carefully to avoid hurting her, in case there really is an injury. Seems like it at first glance, but we can't be sure until a careful examination. Alright, let's talk to each other. Please tell me you didn't do something dangerous. Are you alright? Please tell me you didn't do something dangerous. Are you alright?
You okay? You're limping.
This should improve our relationship. Just to make sure that because we were saying Ashton was saying demeaning things to her earlier. This time, when she squirms from my grasp, it's with enough force she almost stumbles back as Zach hadn't caught her by the elbow. Even with 2 more people shooting her concerned looks, she's swift to shrug it off.
It's fine. I just had a little accident.
Little accident? Hard to believe when her other arm's nursing the supposedly fine arm. Yeah, whenever someone says they're fine, it usually means they're not. In fiction and in real life. Can anyone agree on that?
In a library?
Haunted by a ghost?
Well, yeah. It kinda caught me off guard.
Something's happened there, hasn't it?
Yes. I don't have to elaborate on the question further. We've all seen it at this point. The ghost. Shortly, she grows very still, and the hand placed over her right arm shifts ever so slightly, its grip on the limb tightening. Nor too firm to hurt, but just enough for a gesture of comfort for herself. Warily, she casts a glance at everyone in the room. But only the one she spares for Isabella lingers longer. And in that moment, something unspoken passes between them. An understanding. It strikes me seconds later how utterly familiar her expression is. It's the same one I've seen far too many times in Isabella. Since that day at the movie house, every time her attempts to warn us have been so rudely dismissed.
Let me see.
Can we? We have to check if it's bad.
Rebecca hesitates for a moment. After another sigh...
Oh, that is gonna be one hell of a nasty bruise.
After seeing it.
Tell me about it. It was a library cop that hit me.
That's right.
You know, the old metal ones they keep near the history section.
Ouch! Like I said, nasty.
Youch.
But she's there? She went after you.
The ghost. Here we go.
Yeah, I was in the archives, looking something up. Suddenly, she was just there. Well, she was using my own students against me. What kind of terrible person does that?
Zach's seen it too.
Oh, it makes my blood boil.
You should have just ran. That woman's not something you can hit with a book.
Unless it's a Bible, I reckon.
Laugh it up, Ashton, I did. Then the bloody cart came out of nowhere. And you know what? If it weren't for a damn book, I would be dead by now.
Right. Oh boy. Things are getting real now.
I'll go. Ashton and I, we have a lot of things to talk about.
That marks the end of it. At least for the time being. And as soon as Isabella returns and hands Rebecca the old compress she's promised, we get straight down to business. Let's get down to business to defeat the curse. Will I save my best friend before it gets worse? We are haunted by a scary ghost, a witch from the past. Somehow I'll complete the letter with a blast. Right.
We aren't getting anywhere at this rate.
Don't just drop it. There must be something in this we aren't seeing yet.
It's an odd thing to hear from her. The very words I've been telling myself every single time I find myself facing a dead end. We could use a little of the optimism right now, I guess.
I know, but what are we supposed to be looking at here in the first place?
Well, we already looked through those files. You're the one that picked it out last night, right?
All of them? I'm pretty sure every person we've checked in there isn't necessarily involved. One client possibly died of old age. Remember, you found that dumb paper.
Not so dumb if it can kill all of us.
Very funny, Z-Man. Anyway, like I said, you discovered that paper right before the open house. No one else was allowed inside during that time. It's too broad of a scope if we include every single person. In fact, the only notable ones are C and Jean Marie.
But if we're going to include them in the count, shouldn't there have been more than enough people to end this curse already? How does this thing even work?
Yeah, okay. They went in and out of this place. But no, you still don't get it. What I'm trying to say about those clients is...
Maybe there's more than one of it. Even my friend, the priest from the cathedral. He's been acting strangely.
Yeah, he saw the ghost too, poor soul.
Father Norman? Him too?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I visited him a few days ago. He was hysterical. They think he's sick, but I have a feeling what might the real cause be.
God be watching over him, please.
I knew it. I shouldn't have asked for his help.
Oh, nonsense, nonsense. The priest helped in any way he could, and he did. And now, demons are coming after him for his efforts. The world would have hated us first, you know? Because they hated Christ. Anyway.
He was only trying to help too. It's not your fault.
The priest did a good job. Wonderful job.
There might be more than one of that paper going around that we don't know about. More to this.
Maybe they've seen the letter too somehow.
I mean, look at all this stuff Rebecca brought with her. Apparently our teachers have been lying to us all these years. So who knows?
They've been suppressing the truth about the ghost? Trying to mythologize it? That reminds me of today's culture in some aspects.
Hey, now don't blame us. Blame the bloody books they wrote.
Yeah. Next time someone accuses you of listening to a book written by men, just ask them, where's your textbooks come from, huh? Also men, what's the difference? Quietly, Isabella reaches for one of the papers Rebecca has brought with her and carefully inspects the words printed on the page. A copy of an old newsprint that is even before the city was founded. Her eyes narrows with each line it passes, but lingers at the illustration of the noblewoman's servant.
Why do they have to keep this in the restricted section?
Rebecca merely shrugs off her inquiry, but her own annoyance seeps through her answer.
How should I know? I wasn't even aware we have archives that go as far back as this. This is before the city was even founded. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Andrew's help, I wouldn't have gotten my hands on any of it. Maybe they didn't think it would be important to talk about it. After all, this is more Anselm's than ours.
That or some old bugger's hiding something.
Why else would these tell a different story? Revising what's written seems a useless endeavor on its own, when you have nothing to gain from it. Thanks to those, we're also missing a lot of things here. We also have to go with this. All we have to go with is the mansion, the letter, and all the stuff selfish people have been keeping from the public. But what else? Somehow, even with all this information at hand, it still feels like there's something we're overlooking. At present, everything seems to point to where this all started, but the Avant-Garde mansion, how will we fix this? Will bringing the letter back there will bringing the letter back there fix anything? How do I... The mansion's a private property now. Can't just waltz in there. I'd rather die before I even think of begging right to let me in and investigate the place. One thing's very clear after these last 2 days, however. We're not safe anywhere. And I have to act fast if I want to keep my own friends alive. We can't keep running away. Sooner or later, she'll get us. Before that happens, I have to put an end to this. Alright. Let's get this over with.
We've been at this since morning. We should take a break for a few.
No.
I think now is the time to panic!
All at once, the three of them are on their feet, while I quickly palm for my gun on the table. However, before I can pull it up and remove the safety, the whole racket stops. Stillness descends in the room, and amidst the sudden hush, the four of us exchange anxious glances. Only the fool would deny this by now. So much for a break. Yeah, try naturally explaining this, jerks. Oh, must have been the wind. Does the wind make a grating sound like that? Oh, it must have been an earthquake. An earthquake that conveniently makes creepy sounds like that in this apartment after we've been on this mystery? You believe in coincidence and chance? Huh?
Ashton, that might be...
Gather everything.
No questions asked. They waste no time getting to work, piling up the documents we've been reading through. Even Isabella's unusually silent as she gathers everything in her arms, her own movements sharp and precise, a deep furrow in her brow. There's fear, but something hard and urgent overshadows it. But the moment doesn't last. Before we can even finish, another noise ups the tension already gripping the place. Suddenly the lights go out, and the wardrobe at the end of the room rattles, as if something inside begs for freedom. Aslan? Cautiously, eyes glued at it, I take a step forward, and I release the lock from my gun. Is that a white witch trying to get out? I'm no trigger-happy person. I'm not even sure if this will work on a ghost. But right now, it's smooth surface against my palm, with the trigger at my finger. But it's the closest thing I have to relief as I approach the closet.
Ashton, what are you doing?
Just run! Get out of there! Run from the apartment! Don't open the...
I don't think that's a good idea. We should just...
Worried as they all are, they immediately stop with a slight raise of my hand. But the edge is there, while they all huddle in the space between the door and the room. In case this goes south, whatever I find inside, they have enough time and space to run from their position. In 2 deep breaths, I crossed the room and stood in front of the closet. Oh man. Another shallow breath. I'm crossing myself. Sam 14, right. I glance at my companions. A nod. Jump scare. Then in the next moment, I'm grasping at the handles and swinging the doors wide open to reveal... nothing. Clothes. Right away, I part the clothes hanging on it. Still not. She's playing with us. No ghost. No woman. Not a single trace of whoever's inside. Confused, I glance back towards my companions, only to see them mirroring the same expression on my face. The noise has finally stopped, but I'm quite sure it isn't my imagination. Or maybe it is, and I'm just too strung up that my head's now making things up. Whatever the case is, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. It only confirms we aren't safe anymore. Without bothering to close it, I move back, ready to leave, adrenaline now coursing through every vein in my body. In the next second, I'm barking orders and...
We should go. Everyone, we need to...
I'm sent sprawling on my back as something cold catches my ankles and yanks. The resulting fall knocks the wind out of me. Pain racks my whole spine and back of my head as it collides against the floor with force enough to dislodge my own brain from my skull. A moment lasts before stars fade into my vision, and then I sense it. Woo! Cold tendrils twisting around my ankles. The smell of vile rot assaulting my nose. Nauseating, sickening. A foul smell draining every feeling in my body. The moments of horrid laughter, still as unpleasant and vicious as the last time I've heard it, reaches my ears. My eyes snap open. Holy moly, that's terrifying. Perhaps it's just inexperience. Or maybe my mind's still attempting to comprehend this. Regardless, the minute my eyes land on her, the whole of my body freezes. The gun in my hand turns useless as it grips on its slackens. It's in a manner her gaze bores on me, I'll say. The look of utter hatred and malice. I've seen it loads of times. From suspects, mostly murderers, who never regretted their actions despite being caught. This is the same as someone you can no longer reason with. And I know, the moment she laughs again and starts dragging me towards her, it's already going to be
Ashton! Snap out of it!
No, I can't die here. Not yet. The haze fades from my mind, an instinct kicks in, and then there...
Everyone out! Get out! Get out of here!
With one powerful tug, I yank my foot out of her grip and scramble back to my feet, ignoring the piercing wail she fills the room with. Running, I'm out. Peace, I'm out. Down, it's the car. Right, go. October, Halloween, everybody. Oh man. Oh man. This is starting to get
interesting.
oh boy. Well, it doesn't last for more than an hour. The dark clouds lift just as the sun appears over the horizon. So this lasts all the way till November 1st. Gotcha. Right. I'm probably gonna have to end it here. I got dinner to make. So, thank you everybody once again for watching me play the letter. If you like it, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel as well as this channel. And until next time,
stay spooky. Ooh.